My name is Ethan Cross. I'm 41 years old, and today, I run one of the fastest-growing interior design firms in Miami, Florida. I have clients flying in from LA and Manhattan just to walk through the spaces I create. Last month, my company crossed $3.1 million in revenue. And the funny thing is, none of this would have ever happened if she hadn't told me I was worthless. It's crazy how one sentence can stick in your bones for years. "You won't last 6 months without me." That's what she said, with a wine glass in her hand and someone else's cologne on her coat. And she meant it. She really believed I was too weak, too soft, too small to stand on my own. Back then, I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I just stood there, numb, while she packed her designer bags I paid for, and left. No apology. No explanation. Just a final look that said, "You'll miss me forever." But what she didn't know, that moment didn't break me. It ignited me. She saw a man with nothing. I saw a man with nothing left to lose. Now I wake up in a house she once called a stupid Pinterest fantasy. I drive a car she once laughed at in a showroom. And last week, she showed up to one of my showroom openings, uninvited, standing outside like a stranger looking in. I didn't ask her why she came. I already knew. She came to see if I really made it. If the man she left in the dirt could ever become something she couldn't reach. I didn't speak to her. I just walked past her. And for the first time, she said nothing. That silence? That was the real closure. But if you think this story is about success or money, it's not. It's about being dismissed so hard by the one you loved that you forget how to love yourself. It took me years to rebuild, not my career, but my confidence. And before I show you what I built, let me tell you what I lost. Because I didn't always live in penthouses or walk red carpets. Once upon a time, I was just a man who thought love could fix anything, even her. And this is how it all began. 3 years before she left, I thought I had it all. Not money. Not fame. Just her. Her name was Sasha, and when we met, I was 34 and working 3 jobs. I bartended at night, helped with furniture setups during the day, and freelanced online just to make ends meet. I didn't have a big plan, but I had big dreams. Sasha, though, she was the plan. At least in my eyes. She walked into the bar one night wearing this faded leather jacket and talking like she owned every room she entered. Confidence. Style. Sharp wit. She told me she was a marketing consultant. She said she'd help me brand myself better, whatever that meant. We laughed until 3 a.m. that night. I walked her to her car. And by morning, I knew I wanted more than just a conversation. We moved fast. 3 months later, she moved into my apartment, a 1-bedroom with no balcony, no view, and a leaky AC. She brought with her a French press, 5 pairs of expensive heels, and a stack of self-help books that made me feel like I wasn't there yet. But I didn't mind. In fact, I thought her standards would pull me up. For a while, we were good. We danced in the kitchen on weeknights. She'd kiss my forehead before I left for work. And every Sunday morning, we'd go on long drives, just us and old-school R&B. I used to think we were soulmates. Until I realized, soulmates don't make you feel small. She'd make little comments, harmless at first. "Why don't you go for something more stable? Interior design's cute, but what's the backup plan? You know, not everyone's meant to be great. Some people just have cozy lives." She said, cozy, like it was a disease, like simplicity was failure. Still, I didn't push back. I thought that's just who she was, driven, direct, ambitious. And I loved that about her. At least, I used to. But those comments started growing teeth. If I came home tired, "Oh, you must have had a hard day doing throw pillows." If I brought up a new design concept, "Maybe keep it realistic this time, babe. We don't have time for fantasy." And slowly, I stopped sharing ideas, stopped talking about the business, stopped dreaming out loud. I became a version of myself that only existed to keep her happy. She'd go to networking events without me, take trips, for work, with colleagues I'd never met. And every time I asked if something was wrong, she'd laugh it off. "You're just insecure. Don't project your failures on me. I'm the only one keeping us afloat." And I believed her, because she said it with such certainty. Because I was so in love, I didn't want to see the truth. Because I thought maybe she was right. Maybe I was lucky to have her. Maybe I didn't deserve more than this. But love shouldn't feel like a job interview you're failing every day. It shouldn't feel like walking on eggshells in your own home. Still, I stayed, hoping it would get better. That maybe, once the money came in, once the clients rolled in, once I became something, she'd love me better. But I was wrong. Because love that only exists after success isn't love at all. They say betrayal doesn't hit all at once. It creeps in, like a leak under the floorboards, soaking everything before you even notice the smell. With Sasha, it started with silence. Not the comforting kind. Not the "we're at peace" kind. No, this was surgical. Cold. Measured. Her laughter stopped coming home with her. Her phone stopped ringing around me. And her eyes, they never stayed on mine for longer than a few seconds. She used to tell me everything. Now, if I asked how her day was, I'd get, "Exhausting. You wouldn't understand. Just meetings. Don't worry about it. You wouldn't know him. He's from LinkedIn." LinkedIn? I didn't even ask. Because by then, I had learned, asking made things worse. But I noticed. I noticed how she suddenly started taking her phone to the bathroom. I noticed how her passwords changed. How her texts came in silent flashes of light, not sound. And I noticed how the work trips became more frequent but less professional. One night, she came home late, lipstick smudged, heels in her hand. She looked at me, smirked, and said, "Don't wait up next time. You're not my dad." That one cut deep. Because I had been waiting up 4 hours, like an idiot. But still, I said nothing. I kept pretending. Pretending I was too busy to care. Pretending I was strong enough not to ask. And in that silence, I started seeing it all for what it was. The way she rolled her eyes when I mentioned client meetings. The way she laughed a little too hard at texts she wouldn't let me see. The way she posted selfies in 5-star restaurants I'd never been invited to. I'd tell her I was proud of landing a new project and she'd say, "Let's see how long this one lasts." Every win felt like a setup for her next insult. Every high point, she'd find a way to level it. I stopped sharing good news altogether. Then one weekend, she left for a branding retreat. Said it was just girls. I didn't believe her, but I nodded anyway. That Saturday night, I was scrolling through Instagram. Not stalking. Just scrolling. And there she was. Tagged by someone I didn't know. Standing on a rooftop bar in a city she swore she wasn't in. Wearing the heels I bought. Laughing next to a man in a tailored suit. I clicked the account. Private. But the bio said, "Creative Director." NYC. Traveling often. She never mentioned an NYC client. The next morning, I asked her casually how the retreat was. She blinked once, smiled, said, "Enlightening. We meditated. No phones allowed. I really needed the reset." I stared at her. Her light came so easily. She didn't even blink twice. That's when something inside me shifted. Not anger, not heartbreak. Just a cold, quiet realization. This woman is not on my side. She didn't want to build with me. She wanted to climb me like a ladder, then leave once she reached a better view. And still, I didn't yell, didn't accuse. I just sat back, watched, and started writing everything down. Because I knew, if this was going to fall apart, I wasn't going to be the one left with nothing. There's a difference between suspecting someone and knowing. For months, I had been surviving off instincts. Little signs, half-lies, disconnected moments. But still, a part of me held on to the hope that maybe I was wrong. That maybe the woman I fell in love with was just lost, tired, misguided. But then came the night at 2:07 a.m. She was asleep beside me, or at least pretending to be. Her phone buzzed, screen lit up, face down on the nightstand. I wasn't trying to snoop, but it flashed again, twice, then a third time. One name, repeating. Mateo, red heart emoji. I didn't recognize it. Didn't want to. I just stared at the name, frozen. Then the lock screen showed a preview of the message. Still thinking about that night. You're unreal. Wish I could pull you away from him for good. My stomach turned cold. I sat up in bed, looked at her, peacefully breathing, face turned away, like she hadn't just killed 5 years of my life with a single notification. I could have woken her, could have yelled, screamed, thrown the phone at the wall, and demanded the truth. But I didn't. Because in that moment, I didn't want answers. I already had them. I got out of bed, walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water with shaking hands, and stared out the window at the dark, empty street. And I just kept hearing her voice from 6 months ago. The one I didn't take seriously back then. Let's be real, Ethan. You couldn't survive without me. You need me. She said it laughing, like it was a harmless joke. But now I knew. That wasn't a joke. That was a belief. She believed I was beneath her. That I'd never have the spine to leave. That I was a pet project. Something to brag about, but never love. And maybe she was right back then. But not anymore. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch until the sun came up. And when she woke up and asked why I wasn't in bed, I just smiled and said, "Couldn't sleep. Got a lot on my mind." She nodded, went back to scrolling her phone. I never mentioned what I saw, because I didn't need a confrontation. I needed a strategy. This wasn't going to be a fight. This was going to be surgical. If she thought I was weak, she was about to find out exactly what a calm man with nothing to lose can do. After that night, something inside me clicked off. The man who loved her? Gone. The man who begged for scraps of affection? Buried. What remained was quiet, focused, dangerous. I stopped asking questions. Stopped trying to fix what she clearly never wanted to preserve. And instead, I got to work, not on us. On me. The first step? Separate our lives. Financially, legally, emotionally. She didn't notice. I opened a new bank account under a business name. Shifted my freelance payments there. Registered my LLC. Got a quiet office space downtown. Told her it was shared co-working. She didn't care enough to ask. Then I went through my cloud storage, pulled every invoice, every receipt, every chat log that showed I'd been building this business from the ground up, long before she ever believed in me. She liked to call herself my muse. What she didn't know was, she never lifted a damn finger for the company. And I had proof. Next, I called a lawyer, an old army buddy turned small business attorney. Told him everything. He laughed and said, "You're playing it the right way, Ethan. Quiet is power. Keep building. Then strike." And I did. While she was out, networking, with her mystery men and sipping overpriced cocktails in rooftop bars, I was in that quiet office, building my revenge with legal documents, balance sheets, and branding kits. I hired a logo designer, built a full website, booked 3 luxury residential clients from referrals, all paying up front. By the end of that second month, my calendar was full, and not once did I tell her. She thought I was still hustling for small gigs, thought I was still beneath her, still trying to make it. So I let her believe that. I even acted like I was struggling, coming home tired, dropping fake frustrations like, "I'm just not sure this project is gonna close. Might have to borrow from savings again this month." She didn't offer help, just nodded and said, "Well, maybe it's time to get real about your career path." That sentence sealed it for me, because I was making more money that month than she had made all year. But I wasn't done yet. I dug through old emails, found old voice notes, where she openly mocked me to her friends. One of them went like this: "Honestly, he's sweet, but he's not going anywhere. I'm just waiting until I meet someone who can actually elevate me." I saved that file, labeled it, backed it up twice, because when the fall came, I wanted the world to hear exactly how she talked about the man who paid her rent, cooked her meals, and defended her when her own family turned on her. You see, revenge doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be precise. And I was precise as hell. I moved out funds slowly, prepared client contracts that didn't have her name anywhere near them, cleaned out our shared account, but left just enough in it to avoid suspicion. And when I was ready, when my company had its legal structure locked, cash flow strong, and next month's launch event booked, I printed one final bank statement, my name on the top, over $112,000 in the account. She would never see a dime of it, because she had laughed at the seed. Now she'd never taste the fruit. And the best part? She still thought I needed her. It happened faster than she expected, and slower than I hoped. But either way, it happened exactly the way I planned. She had no idea what was coming. The night before the launch of my first luxury showroom, I came home to find her sitting on the couch in silk pajamas, sipping white wine like she owned the world. She glanced up and said, "You still going through with that little furniture pop-up thing tomorrow?" I smiled. "Yeah. Should be small. Just a few people." She didn't even look up from her phone. The next morning, I left the house at 7 a.m. sharp. Not for a pop-up, but for a private launch event hosted at a 5-star hotel ballroom, sponsored by 2 interior design magazines, with guest influencers, architects, media, and clients. It was packed. There were banners with my name on them, tables with brochures, photos of the luxury apartments I designed, a highlight reel playing on 3 huge screens, and in the middle of it all, me, in a tailored charcoal suit, calm, collected, nothing to prove. Halfway through the event, someone tapped my shoulder. I turned, and there she was. Sasha. Wearing a blazer she clearly threw on last minute. Hair rushed. Eyes scanning everything. She looked around, wide-eyed, like she had walked into a future she was never invited to. She said, "I didn't know it was this big." I smiled. "It is." She blinked. "Why didn't you tell me?" I shrugged. "You never asked." And then I walked away. She stood there for a moment, frozen, surrounded by my success, not a part of it, just a bystander. It was the first time she looked small to me. And that was just Act 1. Act 2 came 2 weeks later. She came home furious, yelling, accusing, panicking. She'd found out the business was entirely in my name. That she wasn't entitled to a cent. That the apartment lease had already been transferred to me, and the exit clause on her name triggered. "You're not leaving me with nothing, Ethan!" she screamed. I didn't yell. I just opened my laptop and hit play on the audio file I'd saved months ago. Her voice filled the room. "Honestly, he's sweet, but he's not going anywhere. I'm just waiting until I meet someone who can actually elevate me." She went pale. "Where did you get that?" I closed the laptop. "You sent it. I kept it." Then I handed her the envelope. Inside was a legal severance agreement. No money, no equity, no fight. Just goodbye. She laughed bitterly. "You think you're better than me now?" I said nothing. She tore it up and stormed out. 3 days later, I got a call. Her lawyer. She wanted to fight. So I let her. I showed up in court. Calm. Clean. Ready. My lawyer handed the judge ownership documents, financial statements, email receipts, screenshots, audio files, and her own words printed in bold. She claimed she helped build the business. We proved she never lifted a finger. The courtroom went silent when we played the audio again. You could feel the air leave the room. And when the judge ruled in my favor, entirely, she just sat there, blinking like the ground had vanished. She walked out of that courtroom without a check, without a company, without a name on anything. Just the sound of her own voice echoing behind her. Now, she watches from a distance. I've heard she's still in Miami. Still consulting. Still trying to climb someone else's ladder. Meanwhile, I've already opened 2 more showrooms. One in Atlanta. One in Austin. I own the penthouse she once called a dream we'll never reach. Except it was never our dream. It was mine. And I got there alone. It's been 2 years since that courtroom day. 2 years since I let go of the woman I thought would be my forever, and embraced the truth of who I really was without her. And here's the truth. I didn't just rebuild the business. I rebuilt myself. My mornings now start with silence, not accusations. My nights end with peace, not questions. I take my coffee on a terrace that overlooks the bay. The same bay Sasha once laughed at, saying, "Only rich people live there." Now, I am those people. But success was never the real victory. The real win was healing. Because for a long time, I thought I needed her. I thought love meant tolerating disrespect. That being a good man meant staying quiet while someone chipped away at your soul. But now I know. Love isn't what breaks you. It's what builds you. And anyone who asks you to shrink so they can shine doesn't love you. They fear you. I don't hate her. I don't stalk her socials or replay old memories. I don't toast to revenge or wear my scars like trophies. I simply live. And that, I've learned, is the most powerful revenge of all. To live fully, freely, and without apology. In a life they told you you'd never be strong enough to create. Sometimes I still hear her voice in my head. You won't last 6 months without me. She was right about one thing. I didn't last 6 months. I thrived in 3. And now, whenever I walk into a showroom opening, or close a new luxury deal, or see my name in a magazine, I don't think of her with anger. I think of her with gratitude. Because the day she walked out on me was the day I walked back into myself. She took everything, except my soul. And from that, I built a life she can't afford. Not with money. Not with charm. Not with 1,000 second chances. Because this life? It's not made of glassware and Instagram posts. It's made of self-respect. And that's something she never knew how to value.